Hi, guys, and welcome to the 2412 podcast. My name is Jeff Holt. Today's episode is a special one to me. Pastor Jacob Van Sickle stops by the studio to talk about his church plant in Providence, Rhode Island. Rhode Island is a part of the nation where less than 2% of the population is evangelical. 98% of the population does not know the name of Jesus. This has weighed heavy on my heart for many, many years, and Jacob stopped by to talk about his church, looking for missions partners in Oklahoma, and what does it look like to do missions in his church. The 2412 podcast is a production of One Church Health Alliance. OCHA exists to equip pastors, unite churches in promoting mental, emotional, and spiritual health through education, media, and pastoral support. We are committed in breaking the silence around mental health and faith community, empowering leaders, resourcing ministries, and creating spaces where healing and hope are possible through Jesus. If you had the opportunity to plant a church in one of the most remote spiritually places in the nation, would you do it? If you knew that God was calling you to a place that was less than 2% evangelical, 98% of the people did not know the name of Jesus, and it would be extremely difficult. The task at hand is monumental. Do you think you could handle it? Jacob Van Sickle knew the task at hand. Well, he was looking at this place, a hometown of his wife, and said, this place needs a church. Well, before we get to his story of why he planted his church, you need to know where he came from. And his backstory tells the rest of the story of why he planted the church. Here is his story.
So I was born in Kansas, and then we moved up to Iowa in the 6th grade to be closer to where my dad is from.
Okay.
And grew up, graduated from high school there, and then ended up being in college at Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa.
Okay.
So that was my upbringing with school. But as far as spiritually, I grew up in a Christian home, which I'm immensely thankful for.
Yeah.
My parents lived out their faith, not just in church, but outside of church. And I think that's one of the most important things for raising kids is that there's not a distinction there. And even though I was kind of wayward in high school and then into college, and God really used that in my life to really discipline me and prepare me for the future. And then for now, looking back for ministry.
Knowing that your parents' faith is not your faith. Tell me a little bit about your salvation experience. I always feel funny saying salvation experience, but tell me about whenever you come to know Jesus. When did you know the Lord? Come to know the Lord?
Yeah, so I made a profession of faith when I was very young. You know,
Okay.
so the story goes that my mom has told me. I was about 5 years old. I came out of the shower and like, Mom, I just accepted Jesus and got baptized. You know, it's like, so this funny
Shower
stories for
baptized.
kids. Yeah, it's like, and that's how the story goes. And then I was baptized, actually for real baptized. If you're listening, like that doesn't count. Yeah, for real baptized when I was about 8 years old.
Okay.
And growing up, I knew the gospel. I understood the gospel, and into the later end of middle school into high school, like a lot of people in middle school and high school, I just cared way too much what other people thought.
Right.
And then started to struggle towards the end of high school into early college with sexual sin, which turns out really hinders your relationship with God. It's like if you just want to hinder your relationship with God, pursue that. Through this time, I gets to the middle of my sophomore year, and I'm sitting in this chapel. It wasn't a Christian school, but we had this little chapel on campus. And this is before I was at Drake University at a small community college in Southeast Kansas, where I went there to run. And I'm sitting there waiting for a Bible study. And even though I was very estranged from the Lord and the worst spiritual point of my life, I did this Bible study to make myself feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I could tell my parents I was doing something. And I'm sitting there and I'm like praying. I'm like, God, why is my life so messed up? Like, why do you feel so distant? And then it dawned on me, I'm like, what if I'm just talking to myself?
Oh, man.
And one of the most spiritually low points of my life, probably the most. And it dawns on me, I'm like, yeah, I could just be talking to myself.
Mm.
And at that point in time, and now as a pastor, I'm like, do not do this, people. This is not a way to study the Bible. But I felt within me just to open up my Bible to see what it says.
Yeah.
And, Bible roulette, sort of, just,
Yeah.
and I open it up, point down, and my finger is resting on Isaiah 48:12. And it says this: "Listen to me, O Jacob." That's where my finger was.
Really?
And it says, "Israel, whom I have called, I am he. I am the first, I am the last, and my hand stretched forth the heavens." And a little bit later in that passage, it says, "If you would have only obeyed my commands, your peace would have been like the river." And that was my life. Like, the reason why I had no peace and the reason why I felt like God was very distant is I just was not obeying his commands. And the guys eventually came in, and at the end, I was too proud to tell them what happened. But at the end, one of the guys said, "You know what my favorite chapter in the Bible is? I just love
No
it.
way.
Isaiah 48. I just read it all the time." And you'd think, experience like that, then everything was better. No, I continued to pursue my sin. But then ended up transferring schools
Yeah.
to Drake University. And it was there that one of my good friends and started off as my RA. He invited me to watch a football game. And I'm here at this, house on Greek Street, which it wasn't a fraternity, but it was just on Greek Street. And I just dawns on me, like, all these guys are Christian guys.
Yeah.
And after the football game, they invited me to go play basketball, and the basketball court is in the church.
Hmm.
And I'm like, first night, I'm in a church. And I go up and I'm in the kitchen, and I see it's right next to the pastor's office. The pastor's preparing his sermon late that Saturday night. And at the time, I didn't understand it. And now, as a pastor, I'm like, oh, I get that. Preparing. Everyone has those sermons every once in a while, late at Saturday night. And I walk in and introduce myself, and I ask him, "Hey, what are you teaching on?" He's like, "Oh, Jacob's exile when he comes back and meets Esau." And I'm like, "What?"
Wow.
And I remember walking out very distinctly to this day, walking out to my car in the parking lot and thinking, "God, I have been so rebellious
Yeah.
and so wayward, and you have graciously pursued me."
Yeah.
And over the next months, that realization of just my own sin and God's gracious pursuit, coupled with guys my own age that were actually wanting to not only read the Bible but obey it, had a huge impact on my life. And I grew immensely during the rest of those years in college, 2.5 years. And it was just a wonderful thing. And at the end of that, and this kind of gets into the story of church planting, at the end of my senior year, I was starting to get to know a girl there. And that's, where a lot of stories start.
Yeah.
Is a girl. And my now future, or my then at the time future wife, Sasha. And we started to date. And then she was from Providence, Rhode Island,
Yeah.
or just outside of Providence, Rhode Island. So that was both of us really being changed spiritually. Myself as a revitalization of like just maturity and having grown up knowing the gospel, and for her not hearing it ever.
Yeah.
But we met at the tail end of that, and the rest is history, as they say.
That is incredible. So, okay. So, knowing where you're at in your walk, finishing of that, you're coming to know the Lord. I mean, you've already met the Lord. You already have that walk. You're meeting with him now. I'm putting my phone on silent because it's ringing like crazy right here.
Oh, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it.
Okay. So you come to know him as a child, but then you have that full surrender moment in college. You see him in that walk in Isaiah 48, and now you're meeting your wife. What was that moment that you were like, this is the moment that I'm going to say yes to being a pastor, not church planning, but being a pastor, surrendering to ministry in general?
Yeah, so we graduate college, and right after that, we go to visit her parents
Okay.
on their home turf there in Rhode Island. And I'm walking downtown Providence. I'm 22, so I know nothing about anything. just and walking downtown Providence, and I think someone should plant a church here. Now, I am not planning on going into ministry at that time.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know it. Maybe I heard a podcast about it. I don't even know why church plant is like. I didn't really even know what that meant. But I thought that I'm like, oh, there are a lot of things cool about this city. It's a
Yeah.
mid-sized city, has all these universities. And I knew her family. I'm like, they need Jesus. I'm sure there are others too. I thought someone should plant a church there. Well, over the next year, the college ministry that was really used in my life to change tremendously in my wife's life to become a Christian. There was some change of leadership, and there was an opportunity for new leadership.
Right.
And I always felt like maybe I should fill that role. And I was talking to other people, like they were like, "Yeah, I think you should fill that role." Do a lot of prayer, and honestly, I kind of went kicking and screaming in a lot of ways. I'm like, I don't that wasn't a part of the plan. That's not what I was going to do.
Yeah.
But God graciously again just led me into that. And I started on staff, and then I became the director, then I became the college pastor there at that university. And I was in that position for a little over 10 years.
Okay.
And during that period, not only was I cutting my teeth in ministry and in so many ways that I look back of like, wow, what great preparation. And it wasn't, again, a part of my plan.
Yeah.
But it was in those 10 years the desire to plant a church, particularly in a secular environment like Providence, grew and grew and grew.
Okay.
And now I'm looking back, we're 3 years into this church plant in a very secular city with a lot of college students. And I look back of like, I cut my teeth in a lecture hall in a very liberal campus. I would say it puts the liberal into liberal arts. And,
Yeah.
like cut my teeth there. And it was like, what great preparation. I wasn't planning on doing that, but
Right.
it was God's preparation in my life.
Yeah, definitely. So, is there any moment in that time whenever you're doing your college prep, you're going to school, you're cutting your teeth in ministry, was there anybody that was mentoring you, that was giving you sound advice, that was what is the word I'm looking for, that was laying that foundation, that was speaking life into you and helping you walk into that direction? Who is that person? I can see you
Oh,
smiling. Who is that person?
there are a lot of people that were that person.
Oh yeah, but who was
So
that one?
I would say probably the person that really helped me immensely. Oh man, it's hard to even narrow it to one person. And this good friend of mine, John Crane.
Uh-huh.
If you're listening, John, hi. Yeah, it's like and Dan Rude and some guys that were not much older than me, 4 or 5 years,
Okay.
but they were kind of the next step, and they gave me something to step towards.
Yeah.
And this is something that people need to think of. If you're like 24 and you're like, what could I possibly offer someone?
Right.
It's like, well, to someone who's 20, you can offer 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and that's quite a bit. That's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it's a pretty large percentage of life there,
It is.
for
Yeah.
them. And it's like they just provided the next step, which was so immensely helpful. For me, I'm like, okay, I'll just take the next step of faithfulness. And because they were so close to me in proximity and could see my life, they were able to, in that spot, say, zero in on something like, hey, you're missing this.
Yeah.
So I remember one time, this was a conversation with Dan, who was pastoring the church that it was a plural eldership model, and I was eventually one of the elders there, but he was the primary teacher. And we're sitting down, and this is when I was in college, and this is just an example. And I'm complaining to him because the guy that I led to the Lord is just messing around and sitting in this way and this way, and I'm frustrated that he's not maturing faster.
Yeah.
And he's like, so how long has this guy been a Christian? I'm like, oh, 4 whole months. And he's like,
Wow.
and he turns to First Thessalonians and he shares about how Paul said that he became like a nursing mother to them and like a
Right.
father to them.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're going to have an impact on people's lives, you just need to give. And another place, Paul says that I gave you not only the gospel, but my very life.
Yeah.
It's like you just need to give them your life, and it's going to take way
Way
more
more.
than 4 months.
Right.
And I still remember that to this day. To this day, it's someone's not growing on my timeline. I think back to those verses applied to my life, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna control what I can control. I'll give him my life, and I'll give him what God has revealed through His Word.
Yeah.
And God tends to use that.
Mm.
And even the times where it doesn't seem like He used it, usually He's using that in your life. It's like I'm the one changing here.
Right.
So just so many people, and I could go on and on and on about older mentors that were speaking into my life.
Yeah.
And that has been something where I have felt very blessed.
Yeah.
To be in an ecosystem where both peers and older mentors and people to pour into this ecosystem of just people loving and serving one another.
Right. Okay. Planting a church is one of those things that you have to be dedicated to. You have to know that you are called to it by the Lord. And Jacob knew that he was going to plant a church in one of the most desolate places, spiritually speaking, in all of America. Less than 2% of all places that he was going to was evangelical. But he wasn't going to do it alone. He has an incredible story, and when we come back, you're going to hear one of the most incredible things about who he was going to do this with. So make sure that you stick around and hear how, when he plants this story and plants this church, about what happens next and how God is going to move in an incredible way. We'll be right back. What if the church led the way in healing? Not just spiritually, but mentally and emotionally too. At OCHA, One Church Health Alliance, we help pastors with finding resources, educate, and unite churches to speak out about mental health with compassion, truth, and hope. Through podcasts, resource pages, and now launched Gospel and Hope blog, OCHA helps faith communities break the silence around mental health and create safe spaces for real healing. Whether you're a pastor, church leader, or someone searching for help, you're not alone. Visit One Church Health Alliance to find help today. OCHA, united in healing, committed to hope. You've met your wife. You guys are now on this journey of saying, we want to plant a church in her hometown, is in Providence, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what was those conversations like?
I started to learn more just about the spiritual condition.
Okay.
So first I learned about the Northeast. The Northeast is the least reached region by far in the United States. So Barna does a study of post-Christian cities, and 8 of the top 10 are in the Northeast. And then Providence is 2% evangelical. So for frame of reference, England is 7, Egypt is 4, according to the Joshua Project.
Wow.
And Barna did a study on Providence, along with New Bedford, Mass., and it was 2% evangelical. So it's just a completely different landscape religiously. And as I started to learn more about that, it's like, oh, it's not just her family that grew up in a very secular environment. That's like a lot of people.
Yeah.
And another factor that played into that is, people talk about post-Christian. It's a buzzword used now often in the church. It's post-Christian societies. Well, Rhode Island, if it's post-Christian, it's post-Catholic. And a big part of that was that in the early 2000s, the Boston Globe had a big report on abuse in the Catholic Church, where they kept on moving priests from parish to parish,
right,
and covering it up. That blew up. They reported on hundreds, and then thousands called in saying that happened to me too.
Wow.
Well, because of that, obviously a lot of families left the Catholic Church in the region,
Yeah.
and not just in the region, globally at that time. But now those kids who grew up with nothing are more curious.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't grow up with anything. They don't have as much. They still have some religious baggage, but they don't have as much, and they're trying to search and all these things culminating of like, okay, this is not just a need, but I think it's just a good timing
Yeah.
for people who are really searching.
Yeah.
They're a blank slate in a sense, where, well, what we're doing isn't working. Is there another alternative?
Mhm.
So as a church, we like want to meet that. And we want to meet it in the community, but also in the college campus. So Providence has 58,000 college students,
Wow.
culminating with 7 different universities in the Providence area,
Mhm.
and all very different. You have Brown University, which is an Ivy League school; Rhode Island School of Design, which is a very prestigious art school; Johnson Wales University, which is one of the best culinary art schools in the nation. We actually have pastry majors that,
Pastry majors?
yeah, you're like, what's your major? And they're like, pastry.
Pastries.
Yeah. And you're like, I've majored in that at some points in my life.
So, what are potluck dinners like
It's
at your
wonderful. It's
church?
wonderful. One of them, freshman, his name's Noah, just brought me a sack of pastries one day, and it's like, we need more of this, more of that. Paid in pastries. But anyway, so there's Johnson Wales, there's Providence College, which is a private Catholic school; Rhode Island College, which is a Division III public school. There are all these different universities, and we want to engage the community, and we want to engage these college students, because college students, there's just something about it. It's a time where people are spiritually investigating.
Yeah.
And, people think of college, the time that you rebel. Well, it's like, well, if you're upbringing secular, what does rebellion look like?
Right.
It's like, it looks like going to church and, figuring those things out. In fact, I had a conversation 2 weeks ago with a young man just out of college. He went to Rhode Island School of Design, and he's like, "Oh man, I don't know. My parents are really against this, and this is kind of rebellious." And a week later, I had another conversation with a student from Brown University. He said the same thing. I've always been the student or the kid that has followed my parents, and now I'm involved in a church. And it's like the rebellion works the other
Wow.
way if it's a secular
Yeah.
environment. So we want to take advantage of that and really meet people where they're at and share with them what Jesus has done for them.
That's incredible. So, and I want to back up to the 2% number and 58,000 in college students, but I want to give a reference to how many people live in Providence.
Yep.
So 2% evangelical Christian, but how many people live in Providence?
175,000.
So 175,000 and 2% of them. So if I out of a now, just give a scope for those who are not good at math, which that includes both of me.
Well, I feel like it's around 3,000 evangelicals in the city. So I don't want people to get the idea, and I think church planners can give church planning a bad rap when they do this.
Right.
There are no gospel preaching churches in this city, and
Yeah.
it's like there's no one doing anything. And aren't you guys glad I'm here? Well, that's usually not the case.
Yeah.
And so some simple math shows that there are evangelicals in the city,
Yeah.
uh, and I'm very thankful for those evangelical churches that have been preaching the gospel there longer than we have.
Yeah.
And our message to them from day one is we just want to see the percentage increase.
Yeah.
So it's silly to fight over a very small piece of the pie.
Hmm.
We want to increase the size of the
Right.
pie. It's like that's what we want to do.
Yeah. So, and you're definitely, there's no reason to say that you're going to go after 3,000 people when there's 172,000 other people that need to be reached.
Yes.
We were having a lunch earlier, and you were talking to a group of guys, and you were saying, I love this quote that you were saying, there's always ministry to be done.
Yes.
Talk about ministry in Providence, Rhode Island. That you're never going to run out of ministry. What does ministry look like in Providence, Rhode Island?
Well, first, I think it's worth saying that when it comes to being a Christian and evangelism and ministering to people in a city, the things that are most important are the things that are consistent regardless of time or place. So things like prayer, ministry of the word, sharing the gospel with people.
Yeah.
mercy ministry, showing people love through action. All of these things, like that's consistent in first century Palestine. It's like
Yeah.
that's consistent in fifth century England and in 21st century Providence. It's like that's consistent. But okay, well, what would show people the love of Jesus? How can you even have a context to share the gospel with someone?
Yeah.
How can you have a context where you can relate with them and befriend them? Those things fluctuate over time.
Mm-hmm.
And as a church, and this is the drum I've been hitting since we started, of like, we're just going to try a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them are not going to work.
Yeah.
And that's actually a part of it working.
Yeah.
Is we're just experimenting. It's like, and so we've done a lot of different things. We've, handed things out. We've done
Yeah.
events and invited people. We've trained people and sent them out to just do relational evangelism and go and
Right.
there's some fun stories that I could tell about that. But going out and just meeting people where they're at, or joining a club and getting to know people that way. And we've done just sending people out to do evangelism surveys and sending people out to hand out sandwiches to the homeless
Yeah.
and all sorts of different ways. And I'm not, some people are like, this is the only way to do it. I don't think that is the best way. I think you just try a lot of different things, and over time, churches get rhythms that are healthy and that God has blessed, and it's good to double click on those things. But we're at the stage of we're just trying everything.
Yeah. And but you're also trying to, I feel like you're not just throwing stuff against the wall and hope it sticks. You're being strategic though. Because if you go to your website, you could definitely see some strategy that's being put in place.
Yep.
Because within your prayer guidance, you're talking about praying how do you put it? You pray every street,
Praying every block. Yeah.
praying every block.
Yep.
And then you're also doing mission trips with college students. So it's not just throwing and hoping it works. It's literally we're being strategic about everything. And then what everything is, those things that are not working of that everything, we're going to go ahead and reduce that down. The things that are working, we're going to increase those, right?
Yes. Yeah. So for uh, to emphasize that a little bit, for example, our current initiative of Pray Every Block. What we're doing is our church, along with mission trip teams, which if you're listening and you want to come on a mission trip, hit me up and I'd love to talk. But we're doing this thing where we walk every single block of Providence
Mm.
and we're praying for each block. Now that is based off of, the principles that work regardless of time or place.
Mm-hmm.
You pray and God hears those prayers and he answers.
Yeah.
But as we pray, we're putting a door hanger on each door. And that's highlighting two things that we've also seen fruit in. One, it's highlighting usually an evangelistic event after our church service that people can, after the service, come and join us. And we always have wanted to at least new people because of that. Every time we put those door hangers out, there have been people that have responded, you're like, you know what? I should really try out church.
Yeah.
So the last time we did it, there was a couple that came with their kids, and they're like, we're not really religious people. One of them grew up Jehovah's Witness. One of them grew up Catholic-ish,
Ish.
and like, just off and on, Christmas, Easter. And they're like, our teenage daughter is starting to ask a lot of questions
Yeah.
and wondering, why don't we go to, like, should we go to church? I have some religious questions. So they like, okay, well, we got this door hanger. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the door hanger, it has a place where people can send in a prayer request. And we say that send in the request, we'll pray for you, no strings attached. So they don't need to put their name, they don't need to put anything.
Right.
If they want to, they can. But we received a request from a traveling professor who is a professor there at Brown University, initially at MIT. And he put his name down, so I was able to Google search and find him. And his email was this: I don't really believe this, but I've had some medical issues, and I would love for you to pray for me.
Wow.
So it's just hitting on, we've exchanged a few emails, and I'm not pushing any, he hasn't come to church or anything, but we're just trying to just throw it out there and see,
Mhm.
what bites we get. And
Right.
regardless, we just think the power of prayer actually
Yeah.
does something. So all of those things, the prayer, the door hangers, the events, the eliciting a response for that, all of those
Yeah.
things we've seen fruit from. Now, one of the things, and if you're here listening and you're thinking, I think I might want to plant a church in New England, uh, one thing you have to realize is you're going to do twice the amount of work for a quarter of the results.
Hmm.
And you just have to be okay with that.
Right.
But instead of focusing on, man, if I did this over here in the Midwest or the South,
Yeah.
this would have happened. Don't focus on that. Focus on, did something happen? Did God bless it in any way?
Right.
And be thankful and continue to sow seeds.
Yeah. So you're 4 years in, right?
So we're 4 years since moving, 3 years in since the church started.
Okay, so 3 years in since the church started. Um, let's talk about just 2 big wins. You say that you're gonna focus on a quarter of the results, but you wanna focus on the big wins that God has done. Let's share if we wanna be able to give influence to pastors to encourage them on this podcast. We wanna help them have a better understanding of mental health. If I'm a church planter, I'm across from you, and you are going to share with me 2 big wins that's happened in the last 3 years. What are your 2 big wins?
So I'll share two with emphasis on the second. So one of them is just God has been growing the church. So
Mm,
we had one of our largest services ever, or our largest service ever, a few weeks ago, where we had like 153 people, and we're
right,
just like, what in the world? Like, this is beyond what we expected.
right.
But which is the second one. The number is not really what excites me. What excites me are the names associated with those numbers.
Mm,
So, what excites me is our last baptism is a Brown student, senior at Brown University named Bella. Uh, just over a year ago, one of our college ministry leaders, Vinny, he raised money to be on the college campus. He's really just taken a lot of steps of faith. I'm really proud of him. He was praying around Brown University that something would start there and that we would be able to start a Bible study there and have students get involved with the church. And he's praying this. At the same time, my wife is praying for someone that grew up like her, a secular upbringing, that is just hungry to learn.
yeah,
And they're both praying these things. The first week of school or second week of school, she visits because she received an invite from Vinny on the college campus. They were just handing out invites. And she comes to church, I think for the first time ever.
wow.
And we always say, if you don't have a Bible, we'd love to give you one. So at the end of the service, she goes and she's holding this Bible. And I wasn't there, but this is the way my wife tells it. She's looking at it as if she's holding something very precious.
That's incredible.
And my wife saw this, remembering her prayers, goes up and talks to her. And they end up meeting at least once a week until the present, over a year. And she got baptized a few months ago.
Wow.
And it's just complete ground zero, just doesn't know anything,
Yeah,
but just chewing through the scriptures, working through them. But you remember, she's a student at Brown University. She's looking to go to grad school at like Harvard or Yale. Like, she's really intellectually savvy and
yeah,
wrestling through it and with deep questions. But then, and what's been so exciting and what has excited me about ministering in a city is you have people that are very, very different. There's a guy by the name of John. They got baptized and became a Christian. When he first came to the church, he was homeless. He was 2 weeks out of jail, estranged from his family. And now he is living with his elderly father, taking care of him. He has a job, working that job. He first is reconciled with his son, then his ex-wife. And for 6 months, we were praying that his daughter would just talk to him.
yeah.
And 2 weeks ago, he walked his daughter down the aisle for her wedding.
That is
So was
incredible.
able to reconcile the relationship.
Yeah,
And his family, they're not Christians yet, but they see the effects that the gospel has had on his life.
Yeah.
And he's still, he's still rough around the edges. He's just, he's very bold personality. But every time you talk to him, he's just so immensely thankful to God for what God has done in his life.
Yeah.
And he makes the coffee every Sunday morning. So if you visit church, it was made by John Leach personally for you.
Right.
So it's those stories, those individuals, and I could just keep on going and going and going
Right.
of like, that's what excites me.
Right. So, man, we could go on. I love hearing stories like that. But here's the deal. This is I want you. You just gave a quick breeze out shout out. If you want to come on a mission trip,
Yep.
Reach out to you. But I want you to go more in depth with that. I want you to explain the mission trips. What are you doing? Take us away on the mission trips that your church does throughout the year.
Yeah, so we have 4 dates set, and I don't know if we could put maybe in the show notes or something like that. We
Yeah.
could put those dates. And what we do is we have a trip come in, and the first thing is just get some food and rest because traveling is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next few days we'll do pray every block. What I mentioned is praying each neighborhood. The neighborhoods change because as we pray neighborhoods, we check them off and we mark them on the map. We're about a quarter of the way done with the city. And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully I'm hoping that we'll be 3/4 of the way done in 2026.
Wow.
So that will be a big emphasis. Then we'll do also evangelism. We'll train people on how to do evangelism, particularly using surveys.
Okay.
And that's the thing that terrifies people, but it's the thing that brings me the most joy because I think it's such a good thing to learn how to share your faith.
Yeah.
And even just to see, man, I was stumbling upon my words. I didn't know what to say. This person is very different than me.
Yeah.
But God still used it.
Right.
It's a very empowering thing, and God blesses it. And then on that Sunday, we will host some sort of an event that is evangelistic in nature, in the sense of, hey, we're worshiping God. Come and join us for that. And then afterwards, we love to get to know you better through there'll be food, or there'll be an event for the kids. And those are the 3 main veins in which mission trips come and put an exclamation point to what we're already doing.
Right.
Help immensely. But it's not just helping the local church. I want it to feel like a training, like a week-long training for the people that come.
Right.
Particularly in 2 areas, prayer and the word.
Wow. Okay.
Prayer and evangelism.
Yeah.
And from the feedback that we've received, people have walked away being really challenged in that.
Yeah.
And empowered of like, if I go back to wherever back is, Oklahoma or Iowa or South Carolina or Florida, it's like, if I go back there, I can do the same things.
Right.
And it's going to be easier
Because you're amongst your people.
because you're amongst your people. So that's what we want to have people walk away from. We're also going to do another trip, which we have not scheduled yet. We're in the middle of doing that right now. That is going to be a spiritual heritage trip. And it's more of a historical trip.
This is for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please come out. It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
And just go and see some of the sites in both American and Christian history.
Wow.
So go to Plymouth and see
Yep.
where the Pilgrims landed, and go Providence history, which is a good way of also learning early Puritan history in America, because he was kicked out of Massachusetts by them. Roger Williams is founded the First Baptist Church of America and also founded the state of Rhode Island.
Wow.
And go to Boston for the Freedom Trail, and there's a church planner there that does the Freedom Trail from a Christian perspective.
Oh, wow.
And then to go see where Jonathan Edwards preached, and where the Haystack Revival was, where the student mobilization movement really kicked off. All of these things that God has used in the past, and to pray and dream about God doing that in the future.
Wow.
Like, that's why we want to do it. It's not just to see what God has done in the past, but to see what God might do in the future. I heard there's 2 ways of learning history. There's learning it as a scholar, and there's learning it as a soldier. A scholar learns it to put it in a book and put it on a shelf. A soldier learns it because, I'm going to be in battle someday, and I need to know.
Wow.
How Gettysburg went.
That's incredible.
I need to know how Hannibal killed more people in the Roman Empire and the Roman soldiers than America lost in the entirety of the Vietnam War. in one day.
Wow.
Now, I'm just saying that because I'm listening to the History of Rome podcast. So there's a plug in another podcast. Maybe we'll get a sponsorship. But I'm like, man, Hannibal was crazy. But anyways, you can study history as a scholar or a soldier. And we want it to be more of a soldier type trip. Of like,
Absolutely.
we're not just learning these things to learn these things. We're learning it to empower us for the sake of the future.
Right. That's incredible, man. You're doing such an amazing work. And I can't help but to think of the influence that not only that you're causing for your city, for your church, but for people around this nation to be able to come up and be a part of this amazing journey. So I want to say it was about 15 years ago. I had the itch to go up to the Northeast, and I wanted to go far up Northeast,
Basically Canada,
way up Maine, and just I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to plant a church up there,
Yeah.
and because I had heard that it was less than 2% evangelical. Now, my issue is that I have profound ADHD, and whenever I get an idea, I get fixated on it.
Yeah.
And so, but in that time frame, I was single. I wanted to do it. I was preparing myself to do it, but then I began to slow my roll, but I knew that my heart was still up there. I really wanted to, however I could help, however I can do it. I even contacted a few people of how we could do some possible mission trips. Those fell through. When I got married, I told my wife. She was like, I am not a church planter's wife, especially up in the Northeast. But I knew if there was ever an opportunity to do anything up there, I wanted to take advantage of it. And man, when it was about a week and a half ago, I got an email from a good friend of mine named Matt Spann. He said that you were going to be through here and that we were looking to do some mission partners. I could not wait. My fingers couldn't type fast enough. I was either going to get 1 people or 50 people in a room to hear something, to hear what you had to say about getting people up there to do some mission trips. And I knew that the only other way that I could get people to hear you was also on a podcast. So I knew I had to get you in this room to record this as well. So if my little minute link in the chain of helping the Northeast was to get this little podcast that less than 1,000 people listen to, that 1 to 10 people listen that are in the room with you, I feel like God has blessed the work that the ministry has done for today. But brother, I'm profoundly thankful for the work that you're doing for the kingdom up there. And I hope and pray that you continue to do the work and continue that God will continue to bless your church, continue to do the work that you're doing for college students up there, because it's really progressive up there. And I'm not saying that to be political. I'm not saying that to do anything like that. I'm saying that sin is ugly, and sin separates us from our heavenly Father, whom our Savior had to die for us to be able to cross over that chasm of sin in order for us to have that relationship with him.
Yep.
And so if we can get people in the room to say that we're going to have mission trips and people's lives are going to be changed, the work is worth it.
Yep.
The money is worth it.
Yep.
We're going to put in the show notes, we're going to put the mission trip dates. We're going to put all 4 that you have scheduled. And then as soon as you know the 5th one, you just let me know when that one is. And then we'll edit the notes and put that 5th one in there as well. And then how can they contact you? What's your email? What's your website?
Yeah, my email is Jacob, Jacob, Van Sickle, VanSickle, at sacredcity.church. So instead of .com, it's sacredcity.church. And our website is sacredcity.church. So not .com, .church. And you can access me there. I'm not really present on social media. I have like an X account, I guess, but that I don't check too often.
Right.
And yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. Send me an email. And I just think William Carey said this. He said, expect great things of God and attempt great things for God. And when you just think about what God has done for us, like saving us, transforming us, a lot of my story is just like, man, I can't believe what God has done for me.
Yeah.
There should be something within us that propels us forward. That does not mean that everyone needs to be a church planner. Doesn't mean that everyone needs to go to Timbuktu or whatever. But it does propel us forward to something.
Yeah.
And it can't not. It's like love compels us, as Paul says. So I would just, if you're listening to this, whatever it is, if it's coming on a mission trip with us, great. If it's joining us out there, even if it's moving out there, I'll even throw that out there because crazier things have happened. People have actually done that. But whatever it is, talking to your neighbor, talking to your friend, talking to your coworker, like expect great things and attempt great things.
Yeah, that's an incredible word. Thank you so much, Jacob. I appreciate you coming on the show today. I look forward to we'll have to do this again the next time you're in Oklahoma. We need a part 2.
Let's do it.
Whenever we get the chance. And I want to hear updates of how much of the city that you've continued to pray over. I hope and pray that the next time you come on, you've completed that goal of 3/4 of the city, like you said, or done. Because you've just had an overwhelming capacity of missionaries come into your city and said that we're just going to knock this city out because we need to reach all of it. So I appreciate you, brother. You're doing a great job. Guys, thank you so much for listening today. This is the 2412 podcast. I really do appreciate anybody that's listening on whatever platform that you are listening to today. Guys, have a great day. Thanks for listening. Bye. The 2412 podcast is a production of One Church Health Alliance and can be heard across multiple platforms such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. More platforms are coming soon, so be on the lookout for your favorite platform. Music is produced by Suno.com. The 2412 podcast is written and edited by Jeff Holt. Executive producer is Jeff Holt and produced by Dr. Matthew Tanner. Additional information can be found at onechurchhealthalliance.org. Special thank you to Jacob Van Sickle of Sacred City Church in Providence, Rhode Island. Thank you for listening today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. God bless.